Les deux? Ok. Bienvenue, Montréal, ça va? Voilà, après. Nous n'avons pas beaucoup de choses en commun. Oui, je suis un petit enfant d'Angleterre, dans une petite ville, qui personne, c'est inconnu, cette ville, et les choses en commun, c'est quoi? Des jambes, des oreilles, une tête, des bras, une bite énorme. Mais ce n'est pas suffisant maintenant. Non, c'est seulement 50% de l'humanité. Pour le reste, des modifications médicales, c'est possible. Et on passait pour les deux. Mais il n'est pas suffisant aussi, parce que il y a beaucoup de pronoms inventés au milieu. Et je ne comprends pas. Donc, en commun, le mort, c'est certain. Le mort, la fin de la vie, c'est certain. We're all gonna fucking die. But not tonight. I can't talk about death because I don't know. It hasn't happened yet. I mean, I'm not a Buddhist. If I was a Buddhist, I could talk about it. It'd be a fucking terrible thing to be a Buddhist if you... I mean, who would want to come back as like a cow or something? Come back as a cow in Texas, that's fucking bad. Worse than that is to come back in Canada as a salmon. Because all I've fucking eaten in Canada is fucking salmon. Is there no other food except salmon in Canada? Le fromage. Non, non, non. Le fromage ici à Montréal, c'est très bien. But, okay, the mort, so death, we don't know much about death, so what's left? Birth. We were all born. You seem uncertain. But we were born. Me, I didn't want to be born. No. I was happy in my mummy's tummy, you know. Was being fed, looking down at my enormous cock. Oh, fuck no, it's my umbilical cord, but you don't know that when you're a fetus. Like the end of 2001, A Space Odyssey, you know, I'm the fetus. Birth, shit, piss, corruption, bodily fluids, blood, bright white light in your face, smack. Bienvenue, monde. Fuck that, who needs it? I was just sitting there, I did not want to be born. I took my enormous penis and wrapped it around my neck. So what happens? They fucking drag you out. First problem with authority. And it ends badly. But I was born, but there I was lying there, and my mother took one look at me and said, again? And then she joined the circus with my father for 4 years. As a dog act with a real dog. My grandfather raised me. He was a miner. He was a coal miner. We lived in a town that was, it was a town that nobody's heard of. A town called Worksop. Anybody heard of Worksop? You've heard of Worksop? You're weird. So there's only one place in the world called Worksop. It's like when they invented it, they went, this must never happen again. There's the road in, and luckily there's the road out. Now I was obviously, wandering around one of the famous people from Workshop. There's only three. Me, a golfer called Lee Westwood. You like golf? I fucking hate golf. I'm with Mark Twain, the American humorist, who said golf, it's a good walk, spoiled. So, and the other person is the guy, the slaphead guy, who was in Halloween, the Bond villain. I expect you to die, Mr. Bond. Donald Pleasance. Right. So that's three people, that's three weirdos, that's enough to get the place raised off the face of the earth. But I was from there, and I was being raised by my grandfather, because my mum was young. I mean, later on in life, I did the mathematics, She was young. And she wasn't like Jerry Lee Lewis type young. Maybe a bit too old for Jeffrey Epstein. We didn't know anybody in the royal family either, so So anyway, I was raised by my grandfather, and I had all these aunts and uncles and people like that, so I didn't know they weren't really my aunt or my uncle. They're just random strangers, you put this child, put it in a sack, give it to them for 4 hours, bring it back, hopefully not abused. They weren't Catholic or anything else like that, It's that sort of a show, sorry. He's out there at the way the dog's looking down at me now going, strike him down! Hasn't fucking happened yet, has it? So anyway, she was young, and my grandfather raised me, and I had all these aunts and uncles that are not really your aunt or your uncle, that's your special auntie. Why is she special? Well, you don't know when you're 4 years old, and she's the one that's fucking your father, she's the mistress, But this guy really was my great uncle, right? My great uncle John. The reason he's dressed like that is because he's in the Royal Air Force during the Second World War in a place called Malta. And Malta was it's a popular holiday resort now, popular with the Germans now. And we like the Germans because we're friends, now. But back in 1943, the Germans were still trying to get on the beach and put their towels down first. They were just doing it with high explosives. And my great uncle survived all that. He told me all the stories to do with aeroplanes and the Royal Air Force and everything. And the things that happen in your childhood sort of continue. They continue to circulate. I mean, he would sit me on his knee when I was 4 years old. That's when you could do that without calling social services, right? And tell me all these stories. It was amazing. But all good things have to end. And my parents returned. Hello, we are your parents. Since when? Second struggle with authority. And it goes equally badly. They kidnap me. They take me away to a place called Sheffield, which is just north of where I was born. Not very far at all, really, like 20 kilometres or something north. And in Sheffield they make steel and cutlery and knives and forks, spoons and Def Leppard. They come from there. So I was there, I was being educated, and look, this is me here. Oh, I appear to have a problem with never mind, get a new one later. That's me. That's me when I'm just out of the institution, Obviously it's in, oh no. No, it's the laser pointer that doesn't fucking work. My arm isn't long enough, right? So, I will try and do this with the aid of something. I'll use my finger. Useful things, fingers, aren't they? You can use them, all kinds of things you can do with your finger. Occasionally comes in useful on stage if you're touring in India, you know. Yeah. But there I am. You see, there I am, look, with, you know, this is before Photoshop. I mean, you'd never allow that picture out now, would you, ever? On your handheld device. You'd go, I want to change that. I mean, we would lose the Adolf Hitler haircut. And you could put Kim Kardashian's ass on top of your head. Then you could have somewhere you could park your bike, you know. Actually, I wouldn't park my bike there because I'd probably get stuck. But then, of course, there is what the fuck is the blue shit on my lip? What is that? I thought, to think about this, maybe it's some kind of blue fungus that grew on my top lip, and then when I wiped it off, the cloth was sent to a Chinese laundry, and they were secretly in league with the Chinese Secret Service, who passed it on to a bio lab in Wuhan, and it turned into the world's most dangerous disease, COVID-19. Well, it's as good a story as anybody else's, isn't it? And it would definitely get me onto Joe Rogan. But it's not. No. What is it? It's blue crayon. Why? See, I wanted to know what it would look like in the unlikely event that one day I could grow a moustache. Unlike everything else, the moustache, of course, will come back to haunt you throughout the proceedings tonight, right? And me as well. But moving swiftly on, I'm in Sheffield, and I am, in fact, going to school. Strange to relate. But my parents come up to me one day and they say, we're going to send you to a special school. I went, oh, a special school? What sort of school is that? They said, we're going to send you to an English public school. Okay, well that doesn't sound weird, does it? Because if you're, you know, if you go to a public school in America or probably in Canada, it's where everybody goes, right? But no. You see, this is English we're talking about. I mean, we're the people that invented Shakespeare, and who fucking understands that? Only the English understand Shakespeare. It makes us feel more superior. God knows we need it. So, when we say we're going to send you to an English public school, no, it's actually an English private school. Of course it is. So I said, well, why are you going to send me to one of these places? They went, because we don't want you to have to work hard. Like we do, we won't have to work really hard. And they did, they worked really hard. But we don't want you to have to work hard. We want you to have a good career in which you don't do any work. I said, what, like, how does that work? They go, you be a professional. Oh, a professional, like a professional what? They went, you could be a doctor. I went, what? Doctors don't do any work. They went, no. Sit behind a desk and write out prescriptions for opioids, you know? I said, okay, you're only half right. What, who else? They went, you could be a lawyer. I said, no, I agree with you. Lawyers don't do any fucking work, no. Or you could be a dentist. They went, no, that thought is just, that's just an absolutely horrific. So, look, I'm not sure I want to go to this place. They went, you're correct. There is a downside to all this. I said, what's the downside? They said, well, if you go, you won't see us for like 4 years. I went, really? I'll do it. So I turn up at this place. Now bear in mind that this place is where the elite of society go. I mean, if I had been born a few years later, you know, I mean, I could have gone to school with Boris Johnson or somebody like that, right? Because all those types of people, they all go to the same schools. It doesn't matter whether you're liberal, conservative, Labour, fascist, communist, anarcho-syndicalist, Trotskyist, eco-fucking-warrior. They all go to the same places, along with the judges, and the priests, and the paedophiles. So they all go to the same place, and they recognise each other by secret signs. Well, actually, it's very easy to tell, you know, who is a politician in England. They have one abiding characteristic: they have no chin. Now, having no chin has consequences. Soup. It's difficult. And when you have no chin, which can't move up and down, the top of your head has to move up and down with it. But the other thing is, as soon as you have no chin, and you have no chin, one immediately starts to talk and sound exactly like that. Which is sort of how, when they move, they sort of walk around like that, little comment, you know. Oh my God, it's Boris Johnson! Fuck me, Boris, you've got no chin! My God, with a chin like that, one day you'll be the Prime Minister! Oh fuck, you are the Prime Minister. Politics, my friends, is rock and roll for ugly people. What's wrong? Oh, it's a new one. Oh, fuck. Oh, look at that. An invisible laser pointer. That's useful. Anyway, I go to this school, we'll get around to it. Do they have another one? Do they have a manufacturer in Montreal that makes laser pointers? I do believe they do. It's high-tech industry over here. Fuck me. Anyway, never mind. Oh, dear me. Anyway, I'm at school, right? I'm at school, and this kid comes along to me and says, hey, listen, I've got some advice, because I'm very new. You must not join the choir. I said, I don't want to join the choir. He said, no. Let me explain how the school works. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You do lessons in the morning, you do sport in the afternoon. If you don't like sport, there's sport. And if you're allergic to sport, you do sport. And then in the evenings you get more lessons. You don't even have the chance to shit. But Sunday is yours. Unless, well, I have to explain. Sunday we did have to go to church. Compulsory. We had a church in the morning. The school had its own church. Well, more of a cathedral, really. It was like donated to the school by this super rich oligarch who had a particularly stupid child. Couldn't get into the school, build a cathedral, scholarship, right? So we had to go to this place and say, you know, our bits to God and all the rest of it, yeah, if you exist, which I'm not sure you do. All right. So if you didn't go to church, you were beaten, as in hit with a stick on your arse until it bled. Which was fine, because it was perfectly legal. That's why your parents paid all the money to send you there, so that the teachers could kick the shit out of you. Like I said, it should have been Catholic, it wasn't. But there we are. So you had to go to church in the morning. If you didn't, you were beaten, and all that was legal. But once you got away from church, the rest of your day was your own. unless you were in the choir. In which case you spent the rest of the day singing God's greatest hits, which are few. I went, okay, yeah, I get it, I'm not going to be in the choir. She said, no, it's worse than that. When you're singing God's greatest hits, you have to get dressed up like a girl. I went, okay. Not really my sort of thing, maybe in later life. I mean, it worked for J. Edgar Hoover, right? You know. And he said, no, the third thing, though, is that the choir master really likes little boys who dress up like little girls. Is he Catholic? I said, no. I said, well, he should be. So I said, well, I'm definitely not going to join the choir then. He goes, no, it's worse than that. There's a test. Hey, there's a test. What sort of a test? A singing test. Every kid has to do the singing test. And if you pass, you're in the choir. No choice. So I think I have to fail the singing test. Which consists of our music teacher, who's like about this tall, with post-traumatic stress disorder, stone deaf. He can't hear himself speak. The only way he knows that he's spoken to you is by screaming at you. So he would bring you in and you stand from the piano and he would go, come in, boy, come in. I'm going to play you to the piano. I'd like you to sing that note because you can do that. Bong, and I went, bing, no, quite catastrophic. Try another note, bing, and I went, bong, and went, awful, bloody awful. And he wrote me a certificate. It said on the certificate, Dickinson, non-singer. But as you may know, it was not the end of my musical endeavours. So I'm walking up and down the corridors, and there's all these, like, you know, rooms, and in behind every door is like 2 or 3 kids. It's something called a study, and when you were a senior, you were allowed luxury items like a spoon. But these kids all had stereo systems, so there's music coming out, all kinds. And one day, I stand in front of this door, and I go, what's that music? So I knock on the door, and this senior kid opens the door. Then he's like, yeah, what the fuck do you want? I went, what's that music? It's Deep Purple. Now fuck off. Bang. So I bought a copy of Deep Purple in Rock from some kid. I mean, he hadn't paid his crack bill or something or whatever, so he had to sell all his shit. So, third-hand copy of Deep Purple in Rock, scratched to bits. And I learned every single note on that record, including the scratches. And, I mean, it inspired me. I mean, non-singer? Fuck that. I wanted to be a drummer. See, I was what you might call a kinetic child. I liked to bounce off the walls. Nowadays, I would probably be medicated at birth. Personality by Ritalin, right? But we didn't have stuff like that back then. So if you had a child who was bouncing off the walls, they would say things like, oh, sir, this child likes to jump around a lot. What shall we do with him? Have him climb a 50-foot tree. Oh dear, he's fallen out and killed himself. Well, he's not very good at climbing 50-foot trees, is he? Rules of the game, right? But I looked upon drumming as just being the same as bouncing off the walls. It was just with a musical instrument. I mean, after all, what is drumming? I mean, it's just a series of nervous ticks set to music. Drumming is Tourette's for the soul. And drummers speak a different language to everybody else. Every other musician, like melody and stuff like that, no, not drummers, no. I'll give you an example. The second or third time I met Nico McBrain. He was an amazing drummer, amazing. The second or third time I meet Nico, we were rehearsing a song, you know, and I said, like, Nick, you know the chorus of that song? Yeah, what bit's that there? Which is the chorus of? I said, well, you know, that's the bit with the long words that go like that. Right, yeah. Is that the bit that goes diddly bum 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 dash dash diddly bum bum diddly diddly? I went, that's the one. Before that is the verse. That's got lots of words, little words, and they're more low pitch than the chorus. That's the verse. So the chorus comes after the verse. So, yes. And how does the verse go? I said, well, it goes, the little words, you go, right, actually, diddle bum bum, diddle bum, diddle bum, diddle bum, boosh. That bit, yeah. Right, I said, that's the verse. So that's the verse. Any chance that you could play the chorus, just leave it a bit more space. Let it breathe. What, you mean hit it less hard? Not exactly, just sort of lay back a bit. What, you mean play it slower? Well, no, it kind of a combination of two. Play it faster. No, not even, oh shit. Steve! See, that's why God invented bass players. But anyway, I wanted to be a drummer, right? I wanted to be one, right? So the first problem was, how was I going to get a drum kit into my parents' house without them realising there was a drum kit in the house? You can sort of think about this, haven't you? Well, it's a dustbin, Mum. Oh, it's a slightly bigger dustbin going in there. Never going to work. Start small. So, I stole a pair of bongos from the school music room. I was going to be John Bonham on the bongos. So I had a mate who played guitar. He could play 2.5 chords on guitar. He was, the last week, he'd just been getting his 2 fingers around the last bit of the 3rd chord. So on a Saturday afternoon, when it was raining, I would play the bongos, and he would massacre the B.B. King songbook. And together we decided that we needed help. And so there was another guitarist down the hallway. He could get halfway through Stairway to Heaven, so he was a fucking genius. And the 3 of us got together, and I said, you know what? We have the makings of a supergroup. And he said, yeah, well, who are we going to get to play bass? So I went, oh, I know. I played Model Soldiers with this kid on, you know, on rainy afternoons. Mike, we'll get Mike. He's made a bass guitar in the school woodshop. We went, ooh. So they are 2 guitars, bass and bongos. What is the first song we're going to destroy? We decide on Let It Be by the Beatles. And of course, who's going to be the singer? Well, Mike immediately suggests himself. I think I should be the singer. I'm a classically trained bass vocalist, you know. I'm in the choir. Oh fuck, you're in the choir. Yes, but not like that. I went, oh, that's okay. So we start, and I've got my bongos, you know, when I find myself in doom whack, already sounding like We Will Rock You, but shit. And Mike's singing away, you know, when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking, whoa. What the fuck are words? This is what I tell you. When you are a classically trained bass vocalist, you have to enunciate. So troubles becomes troubles, and words becomes wolves. Fuck, okay. Back there, and we get to the chorus, he's like, let it be, let it be. Can I give your nuts a squeeze, Mike? What the hell? So then our guitarist says to me, he said, shut the fuck up on the bongos. Giving me a headache, your hands are starting to bleed. Give him a hand with the chorus. I went, okay, how does it go? Let it be. Yeah. Let it be. Uh-huh. Let it be. Should I be writing this down? Let it be. Okay. Let it be. No. Whisper words of wisdom. Let it be. Yeah. And that's when the strange seed started to sprout in my brain. If you can write shit like this and make millions, be a singer, don't be a drummer, alright? So anyway, we start, and we get to the chorus bit, and I'm sort of going, well, I'll just open my gob and hope that some shit comes out and not a bag of spanners. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Oh, shut up. You are the singer. We'll get another bongo player. And then the bell rang, and it was time for tea. Because it's England, it's always time for fucking tea. So we go downstairs, have a cup of tea, 2 slices of toast each, with butter, some jam, maybe a little bit of Marmite. But anyway, we split up because of artistic differences. And I was just about to start another supergroup because I knew a great bongo player. When it all came to an end, I was expelled. I was thrown out of the school for pissing in the headmaster's dinner. And he ate it. Now, there's something about having, the authority figure in your life, right? So whether it's the headmaster, the principal, the CEO, the boss of Tim Hortons who you work for, Right? All of that. You normally get summoned before them and you think, oh my God, right? But on this occasion, I get summoned to explain myself, right? And I'm just watching this guy's mouth move. It's like talking to a cat. Right? And he, I just kept looking at him going, mate, I'm sorry, but you've eaten my piss. So I could have defended myself. I mean, court of law, they have them in England, I believe, They've certainly got them in the USA. I mean, I could look at case law, how to get yourself acquitted. I mean, O.J. Simpson, right? The glove, the blood, the footprints, the DNA, not guilty. Obvious. Prince Andrew, same. But, of course, you can visualise the scene in court if I decided to defend myself. I had a lawyer and all the rest of it, Ladies and gentlemen, and other pronouns of the jury, my client has been accused of urinating in the alcove there. The French green beans. But where is the evidence? He has eaten it. And I would remind the court that there is no DNA in your eye. Did I do that? No, I didn't do that. He just asked me. He said, did you do this, perform this despicable act in my dinner? I went, yes, I did. And that was the end of that. And then they decided to kick me out, and there's my end of term school report. There it is. Blah, 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 blah. Look, I'm pointing with my laser pointer, which doesn't fucking work. I'll use the invisible one instead. Here you are, it's a red one there. It's just for people who are colourblind, all right? His tongue has always been his undoing. Well, apparently not. I made a fucking living out of him. So, I go to university. I actually went to university. I don't know how I managed to get in, but I went. And I did a degree in a subject that I don't fully understand. Modern history. Modern history, yeah. Don't think about it too much, I didn't. So, I didn't spend much of my time doing any modern history, because I just wanted to be a rock and roll singer. So I was in a succession of bands, you know, and I was also the college social secretary. So I had an enormous fund of government money that I could spend on entertaining the students. So I phoned up the agent, first thing, and I said, excuse me, I'd like to know how much will it cost for Ian Gillan from Deep Purple to come and do a gig at the college? He went, whoa, rather more than you can afford. I went, no, think again. I have an enormous fund of government money, and I will spunk the lot on one show, thereby bankrupting the college fund for the next 2 years. And I did. And he came, and the three of us, we fucking loved it, right? But for the rest of the time, I was busy running around doing, you know, music type things. And before I joined my first professional band, which was called Samson, so before I joined them, I was in this band, and the first time I met them actually was in a pub called the Prince of Wales pub, in a town, the clue is in the name, Gravesend. And it's just southeast of London, right? So the Prince of Wales, Gravesend, and we were there, we played shitty pubs like everywhere. So I'm standing on this carpet, that was the area that we played on. It was no stage, the bar was like where the edge of the stage is now. So there's a drum kit behind me, bass player, guitarist, and the other bit of geography was that the only entrance to the gentlemen's toilets was immediately behind the drummer. So the first 5 minutes, some guy walks across the stage to go for a piss, knocks half the kit over, goes in there, spends far too long in the toilet if you ask me, the bastard washed his fucking hands, comes out, knocks half the kit over and stands back at the bar. Yeah. So, shit, that's not acceptable, is it really? You know? So the next guy that does it starts to walk towards the door. And I went, whoa, everybody stop the show. Notice I do that, because everybody's taller than me. So, say Fred, let's call him Fred. Well, Fred, you appear to be completely incontinent, with no bladder control whatsoever, and probably a prostate the size of my fist. So, what all your friends at the bar want to know is, how big is your cock? And unless you get it out and show them, you're not walking across the stage. Well, he went and stood back at the bar. And nobody went for a piss for 45 minutes. So the landlord loved it. Now the landlord was like a comedy English London accent, the kind of thing you see on like BBC America or BBC World that you need like CT to understand the fucking words. Right? So he comes up and he's like, fucking hell, I fucking loved it! I fucking love comedy! Fucking heavy fucking metal! I went, oh, we don't want to be comedy heavy metal, we just want to be a normal rock band. We go, no! He goes, don't fucking apologise, I fucking loved it so much! I'm going to give you a residency every fucking Friday fucking night till the next 2 fucking months! I went, wow, yeah. Comedy heavy metal, what a great idea. Yeah, why didn't I think of it before? Yeah. So we ended up playing this shithole every Friday night for 2 months. And one night, I'm loading the gear out, so I'm shoving my gear into the back of the tranny, and we've got these 3 cool dudes lining up. And as I'm walking past, at the end of the show, one guy says, hello, we're Samson. I went, very good, never heard of you. We're a rock band. I went, oh, you tell me, that's what we do. Yeah, we know. We'd like to offer you a job. A job? Ah, fantastic. Well, I'm really good at shoving things into the back of the van, whatever. It's not as a roadie, we'd like to offer you a job as a singer. I went, singer? Holy cow, I never saw that one coming. Fuck, singer, yeah. Well, tell me about yourself. He goes, well, we've got the management, we've got a label, we've got an album coming out, we've got an agent, we've got a tour, we've got a van. Oh, you've got a van? Yeah, he goes, it doesn't pay much, he said, but I said, it pays? But anyway, I was thinking, could you join us on Monday? I went, Monday? Any day except Monday! He said, what? What's up? I said, well, look, he said, the trouble is, I'm going to university at the moment. Hey, what do you mean? University? I went, yeah. We've never had anybody in the band with a degree before. I said, well, it's not uncommon. I mean, Pink Floyd have got degrees, and Genesis, they're intelligent chaps, It's not like a barrier to entry, What sort of a degree? What is it? It's a degree in modern history. Modern history? I mean, yeah, I don't understand it either, mate, but hey, So, I said, look, the point is, I said, I've spent the last 2 years at college trying to exploit the student population to make back the money I spent on the Ian Gillan gig. And I've recently discovered that they have in this college a thing called a library. So I decided that I'd try and do 3 years' work in 6 months, and my exams are like in 3 weeks. Can I join the band after my exams? So that's what happened. So I turn up and open the door to the rehearsal room, and I'm like, yes, my first day as a professional singer. Look, there they are, that is Samson. That's the band right there. Yeah. Overwhelming, I know, overwhelming. But there we are. So, how the fuck do you take a picture like that? Who takes a picture like that? That's a really great idea. Let's take a picture like that with the singer's head trapped under a grand piano. It's going to make people really buy our records. Well, this will all become clear, because I turn up and there's more equipment in the room than I've ever seen before in my life. And poor Samson is leaning up in the corner and he's rolling a joint. Well, I knew it was a joint because I'd been to university. Because I didn't know anything about drugs at all, because where I came from there weren't any. So up north in England there weren't any, I didn't know anybody that smoked anything, didn't know, there were rumours that if you smoked banana leaves, that it would have the same effect. But I saw what effect it had, and I thought, I don't want that effect. So I didn't know anything about it, but I had a roommate, well not a roommate, he had a room in the sort of hovel that we rented off the student body, right? So he didn't say much, this guy. I'll describe him. He had, you know, Afghan coat and little headband, John Lennon glasses, beard, long hair, you know, obviously he's like a lawyer or something. And all he did was come in every night, and all you'd hear was and the door would slam, and then there was this strange smell of burning toenails coming underneath the door. And one night, he came and knocked on my door. And he opens the door and does his best Jack Nicholson shining, and makes a series of funny faces and invites me into his room. Well, I've not ever been to his room. He had a carpet, big red carpet like that, in his room, on the ceiling, you know, and on the walls and on the floor. It's like an Afghan bordello, right? And he's got a stack of books with a badge and an upturned pin on the badge, and what looks to me like a lump of yellow shit on the end of the pin. He has a glass and a lighter. I'm thinking this is some strange biology experiment from school, isn't it? Whereby you capture an intensely rare mosquito. Oh, got it, no. So he lights it, puts it in there, and then does the like that. I think, well, that's fucking weird. And then your turn. So my turn. So I go up and I think, right, well, I don't even smoke cigarettes, right? So this is a first for me. So I tell you, well, how much should I set fire to? Fuck it, I'll do all of it. Billow clouds of smoke, you know. I'm surprised they didn't call the fire brigade, 911. So going, and then I just take a big, all of it in my lungs at the same time. And then things came a bit funnier, and I was hungry. I thought, that's marijuana then. It's not worth buying it, ever, but just smoke everybody else's. So then I am in rehearsals, and I went, he's rolling a joint. Well, our drummer, who was called Thunderstick, it's not his real name. Our drummer was called Thunderstick, and he was unconscious because he'd taken a load of tranquilizers. And so he was just like, on his kit like that. And luckily there was a wall behind him, so when he occasionally went, bang, he ricocheted off the wall and back onto his kit. The bass player, though, was completely the opposite. He was like Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. So he just spotted me straight away and went, oh my goodness me, I'm so excited you're here. It's going to be absolutely amazing now. It's going to be so different now you're in the band. I went, Chris, do you have a strange skin complaint? Because there's a lot of white powder around the end of your nose. So I asked this question. I said, are we going to rehearse today? Maybe. Give me 20 minutes. I went down the pub, drank 4 pints in 20 minutes because you could, because I was 18. And came back. So I was drunk, he was stoned, he was unconscious, and he was speeding out of his gourd. And we stayed that way for 2 years. That's how you take pictures like that. So, yeah, no, I know, exactly. Look, this is my last gig with Samson. This is it, look. We're so poor we can only afford half a fucking guitar. And then and we've got, that's not Thunderstick, by the way. Thunderstick had left us, right? Thunderstick had left us. I mean, this is Thunderstick here. There he is. Look, he's very tall. He's about 3 meters. You know. Now, the thing with Thunderstick was obviously he was wearing the gimp mask, but his musical tastes were very eclectic. So he based the character of Thunderstick on three major influences. Devo, they're the plant pots on their heads. The Residents, men with clock faces. And the God of Thunder, Gene Simmons. So of course, his idea was that he was going to be, like his hero, anonymous. Like the world's most anonymous person, Gene Simmons. But regardless of that, so we did all that. And the other thing that would happen during when he was in character, was that he would put on the gimp mask, and the other thing, he used to put black grease paint in little circles all around his eyes and like that, and all around his mouth, you know. I mean, maybe that's where Justin Trudeau got the idea, I don't know. And then he put on the gimp mask, and then he would make no human sound. It was like having somebody in the band who was auditioning for a part as the monster in Young Frankenstein. So you sort of go, would you like a drink, Mr. Stick? He'd go, ooh, drink, ooh, like, you know. So it was very bizarre being in a band with Thunderstick when he was in character. But the biggest problem that we had was that when he was wearing the mask and everything, there was another person in the UK wearing a very similar mask, and his name was the Cambridge Rapist, which even in 1979 was not great. So of course we became known as Samson, the metal band with a drummer who wears the Rapist mask. And now he protested. Obviously, I mean, he protested. It was like, "That's so unfair! It's so judgmental! My mask is totally different to his mask! He doesn't have sequins on his mask!" I went, "Methinks he does protest too much, Mr. Stick." But anyway, this is our last show. This is Reading Festival, and that was the gig where all the guys from IronMaiden came along to see me, to see if, you know, I was the sort of person they wanted to be in a band with, right? Now, it's weird, it wasn't entirely unexpected, because we all knew each other. I mean, I knew the guys in the band really well. In fact, Clive Burr, the drummer in Maiden, had been the drummer in Samson for 2 years. And then quit and ended up with Maiden, and then we got Thunderstick in exchange. So Thunderstick was in Maiden for one gig. Oh, you didn't know that, did you? No, I'd forgotten. No, he was in Maiden for one gig, allegedly. Right, this is the story that happened, and it was a gig called the Bridge House. In place in Canning Town, which had a very long stage, and the bar was like almost like about 4 people away was the bar, and then a very long stage. So Maiden were on there, and I think it was probably his first gig, and they did their stuff, and then there was a drum solo. So he was doing the drum solo, and he wasn't Thunderstick at this point. He was doing his drum solo. And because it was a drum solo, all the band sort of went off the side of the stage, and Harry was like, was just watching, you know. And then in the middle of it all, he stands up, and there's somebody talking at the bar, and he's like, "Silence! Silence and listen to the master!" And I can just imagine Harry going, "No, you're fired." So yeah, that was it. So so he was in Samson for one gig. But I mean, here's the evidence, right? Here's the evidence. There I am, discussing how a legless goose can help. That's a Canada goose, by the way. It is, it's a Canada goose. You know what? I fell in love with a Canada goose. I did. I bought it at a gun shop when I was on tour with Samson. We stopped for a cup of tea in this little village, and there was a gun shop opposite. Right? I'd never seen a gun shop before in my life. It wasn't like an American gun shop. You know, where it's like I'm going duck hunting. I'd like some landmines and an RPG. Landmines for duck hunting? Yeah, I'll just collect the beak. Like that. It's fucking true, they do, don't they? Shoulder-held anti-tank weapon, fucking take out the flock. Right. Cluster bomb, yeah. Anyway, so there's this gun shop, but in the window, it wasn't the guns that got me, in the window was this life-sized Canada goose. I fucking fell in love with it. Have you ever seen the arse of the back of a Canada goose? It goes to a little tech point, and goes like that when it walks. So I went in there as a 19-year-old, like, you know, I'd like to buy the goose in the window, please. And the fucking guy, I bought it, so I leave, go across to the tea room, put it on the tea table. Nobody says a thing. Then one guy, nice bird. Yeah, I thought so. What are you going to do with it? I thought we'd gaffer tape it to the roof of the car on the way to Scotland. Cool, yeah. And that's it, that was the bird that was gaffer taped on the roof of the car to Scotland. And I have to apologise about this actually. Is anybody in the audience, because I know this picture might be disturbing to some people, you know, because I have to worry about things like this nowadays in case I offend people. Normally I don't give a fuck. But is anybody in the audience anatidophobic? Ooh. It's a good one. Anatidophobia. It's a good one, right? Anatidophobia is the fear or phobia that somewhere in the world a duck or a goose is watching you. I mean, look at that, look at those eyes. Pure fucking evil, right? You'd wake up in the middle of the night and go, ah! And we had to change the name of the song, you know, I mean, Fear of the Duck, you know, we had to change it. I have a constant fear that something's always near. Yes. It's true. Look at the lyrics. So it's about a fucking duck. We changed it. Yeah. There we are. And I did warn you. I warned you about the moustache. There it is. Look. That's not actually a moustache. That's just a rodent that has accidentally rolled into the blue and fallen asleep under my nose. But it all works out in the end. Yes. I'll just move the table so the front row can get a better view. I can explain. So, when we took this picture, right, we had no idea that there would ever be something called high definition. And I can promise you there's no Photoshop involved in this either. I'm relieved to say. Yeah, we used to call it the fruit and vegetable line-up shot. But I know what you're thinking, some of you. There's a couple of things in this picture that obviously stick out rather prominently. It's the eyes, look at the Look at the eyes. Round the eyes, yeah. So there we were, and I'm in Maiden, and honestly, unbelievable, right? For a kid in his early 20s that's hardly ever been outside of England, and suddenly I'm going to all these places all around the world, USA, Canada, it's brilliant. And oh shit. Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, we went, I'm looking at the US dollars there, I'm just confused, I thought they were Canadian. We made some money. That's actually, of course, the manager's money. And it goes back in the bag at the end of the. It goes back in the bag at the end of the photo, you know. But again, with high definition, all the rest of it. I mean, if some of you could stand to move your eyes towards my crotch, not this one, that one on the picture, right? I appear to have my trousers held together with a piece of fucking string. You would imagine that he could have actually dropped me a $20 bill and said, get yourself a fucking belt, boy. But no. You discover things on the road about yourself that you never knew you could do. Like building amateur unguided weapons. So I was bored. I figured this out. We were touring, and we had a very strange opening slot, 20 minutes, and it was with Rainbow and 38 Special, which was weird, because I mean the whole tour hated everybody on the tour, everybody. 38 Special, they liked each other, they hated Rainbow, they liked each other, they hated 38 Special, and we were sort of in the middle, you know. It was just odd, you know. But we had 20 minutes at the beginning, and then 23 hours and 40 minutes of sheer fucking boredom every day. I mean, there's a limit to how much you can poison yourself with fast food without doing something about it. So Adrian went fishing, I started making, amateur unguided weapons. But of course, it was a kinder, gentler era. And I mean, you could check into a hotel with your rocket. I think, walk through the reception, is that a rocket you're building at? Oh, yes it is, do you like it? Yes, would you like a room that overlooks the runway, sir? That's fine. People were naive then, they wouldn't have thought anything bad was happening. You'd just be an amateur building a rocket. It's like walking into a hotel with a case full of Gelignite or TNT, What are your plans? Oh, a bonfire, So you could take it on aeroplanes. I took it onto an aeroplane, right? Because nobody bothered about that sort of thing back then, because people would, they would say, what's that? Is that a rocket? And you say, well, yes, but it's okay, it doesn't have a motor in it at the moment. Oh, that's fine, bring it on, I mean, you could take memorabilia onto aeroplanes back then. And as long as they were an antique or an artifact or ethnic origin, like a hatchet, an axe, spears, bows and arrows, knives, swords, not a problem. So I took my rocket and opened the overhead bin, put it in very carefully, and the cabin attendant, walks past, he's like, hello sir, is that a guided weapon you're putting in that bin? Well, yes it is. He goes, that's okay, this is Texas. We love that kind of thing over here. So, we had our little moments. We did some interesting things, all very quickly, all in a concentrated period of time. But unlike Samson, we weren't completely out of our minds. There I am, wearing, most of these pictures I'm wearing insufficient or inappropriate clothing, by the way. This should be a health thing that really come in, but there isn't. That's in Poland. So when we toured Poland, the Soviet Union was still there as uninvited guests. And so people were really quite relieved to see us. I think the government was maybe a bit worried that something weird might happen, some sort of strange insurrection or something else like that, bit over the top really, but they gave us a security guard to keep an eye on us. And this guy was trained, Joseph was trained by the Soviet Special Forces, the Spetsnaz. And he could kill people in industrial quantities, just with his little fingers, like that. And it's all he wanted to do. You know, his life was delivering death. And he was really frustrated when he couldn't kill people. So, you know, some kid would be like, yeah, Maiden! And he'd be going, I will kill him, he is a threat! I will take him out with my hands, or maybe with both feet, you know. And you go, don't fucking, no, don't kill him, why not? He's jumping up and down and making a noise and screaming at me, threatening. You know, he likes us, Joseph. He's a fan. Don't kill him. It's my job. Not today. Well, when can I kill somebody? We'll let you know. Well, when will that be? Shut up, you annoying person. So this went on for 2 or 3 days until the publicist arrived in Poland with a big bag of marijuana. I don't know how he got it under the Iron Curtain, over the top of it, round the back, I don't know. Anyway, it arrived. And I don't know how they got Joseph to smoke a joint either, but we did. Oh my word, the effect was transformative. So the next day we're on the coach and we're a 32-seat Soviet manufactured coach with a diesel engine that emits half the world's global emissions as soon as you start it, you know. And we're bouncing around on these dusty Polish roads, and Joseph comes up and he's doing he goes to the front of the coach and gets the microphone out like a tour guide, right? He's like, oh yes, over there, see, secret Soviet MiG military base. In the woods, look, you can see the MiG-21 nose cone. And over there in the corner, yes, and second floor down, yes, dissidents with the nipples, the electrodes, more voltage, get the confession. Joseph, keep it for the American embassy or the CIA or something, fuck, we'll get in trouble. And then, that night we do a show, it's great. And we all go back to one room, we're all sitting in one room and everybody's smoking and drinking and telling tall tales to each other. When Joseph suddenly gets up and makes an announcement. Now his English was not great, so this was quite something. So he smoked a large joint, most of the bottle of vodka, and stands up and says, "Now I will show you what is good Special Forces woman." Well, it was a conversation stopper. Okay. And then he takes his shoes off and stands on the bed, which I thought was nice and neat and tidy to do that, so he didn't make a mess of the sheets. And then makes another announcement. I will be good woman. Like I said, it was transformative. So we may have been witnessing Joseph turning into Josephina, I'm not quite sure. But he demonstrates, he goes, "So, I will be good woman. We have one dick here, one cock in my mouth, one dick in each hand, and together we will do Blue Danube." Oh God, they're going to stone me to death, aren't they? Fuck. I mean, I've never seen anything like it in my life. I'm just like, yeah, one of those experiences, isn't it? Like Rock in Rio. This is Rock in Rio. Now the thing about that photograph is I know it's the first song. First of all, it's the biggest gig in the world, right? I'm not sure if there's been a bigger one, but they don't actually know how many people were there. Like 300,000 for sure, 400, maybe 500, plus God knows how many million watching it on TV. We'd flown down from America for one gig to Brazil, having never been in the country before in our lives, flown down for one gig, a small amount of equipment, everything else was borrowed, no sound check, and the people operating the equipment didn't speak any English. And we didn't speak any Portuguese. And they were lovely people, but it was kind of pointless, right? Trying to make sense. So we're on stage, and no pressure, of course. You know, we're like this, best heavy metal band in the world, young, no sound check, borrowed equipment, like fuck, millions of people, all live, and that's the first song. I know it's the first song because the wedge monitors either side of me on the floor, right, speakers, they are still on the stage. Because the sound was all over the place. I was really unhappy. And we had the guy doing the monitors, like that bit of the sound there. He was at the side of the stage over there. And he was like, it was a nice bloke, he put it on his desk. Right? He'd sort of like, and he'd go, So there wasn't much I could do except to register my protest, because the second song, I took the monitors and I threw them into the front row of the audience. See? But of course the sound didn't get any better, because there were no speakers left on the stage. Anyway, I decide I'm going to have a word with him, I'm going to have a word with you, at a suitable point in the next song. Now the next song was a song called Revelations. Now Revelations was what I describe as my singer's inferiority complex song. Because when I wrote it, it was quite early on in my Maiden career, so it was all a bit new that this singer would be writing songs. So people would come and ask me, I like that Revelations track, yeah. Who wrote the music? Oh, it was me. That's why. Do you see any after Revelations? There's a name. It's my name. Is there anybody else's name there? Oh. So you don't just write the words, you're a musician as well as a singer. So I thought, I'll fucking prove that I'm a musician. On this tour, I will play guitar every night on stage with IronMaiden for 15 seconds. Musician, proper musician, right? So I come out with this guitar for 15 seconds at the beginning of Revelations and then walk off with it, right? And I've been doing this for a while, but now this is my moment of glory. This is the biggest gig in the world, and I'm going to play guitar for 15 seconds. People will tell their children. I saw him play guitar at Rock in Rio for 15 seconds. It was amazing. So I come on stage and I've got my guitar, and there's some speakers at the side, and I've got my guitar on. 15 seconds of glory, and I can't hear a fucking thing. Nothing whatsoever. Nothing from my fucking guitar. What the fuck have you done to my guitar? You've destroyed my credibility, my career, my reputation, everything worldwide. Fuck you! Well, I didn't know, but our road crew unplugged the fucking thing every night. But as far as I was concerned, it's your fault! So I did my best angry Angus Young guitar walk. And went towards him, and he's like... So I go up to the desk and he's like, so for emphasis, I take the guitar, I'm like, going to show you how strongly I feel about this by taking the guitar off in an incredibly aggressive way. Bang! And I hit myself in the head, and blood spurting out my head. So he's looking at me going, I went, stop jumping around like a fool! And I smashed the guitar, broke it in half, over the top of his mixing desk. My guitar. And the sound didn't get any better. So I go and sit on the naughty step in the corner and go, got to go and wipe my face, there's shit in my eyes and everything. I'm about to wipe the blood off my face when a roadie comes rushing up and goes, no, stop! The manager says, can you squeeze it and make it bleed some more? It looks great on the TV. Look at that. That's good, isn't it? I think that was probably somebody saw that back then in Brazil and thought, wouldn't it be great if there was a TV show where people just beat the shit out of each other and bled everywhere? Ultimate Fighting Championships, yes! Maybe we started it, I don't know. Ah, yes. Now, I'm going to ask lots of questions about my trousers. Questions like, why haven't you been invited to Paris Fashion Week? Well, there's 4 reasons right there. So let's just run through the history of my trousers. Some of it, not so here. What can I tell you about this lot here on the right? Well, obviously, I ran out of money below the knee. I love the white socks and matches the white string vest. But the most interesting thing of all, for me, is the shoes. You see, I have shoe envy of Rob Halford. Because Rob, you see, has a budget. A big one, obviously, for his shoes. Could you mean, the chrome shit and everything, and the biker stuff and everything? I mean, all his clothes are actually leather. Mine are plastic. Right? So that's the order of magnitude. But I'm determined, with my plastic leathers, I am determined to go and get myself a pair of heavy metal shoes. But where can I find something at a reasonable price? So I'm wandering up and down shoe shops in LA. It's a good place to start, isn't it? And I see this pair of shoes in the window. They're black, they've got metal and studs and things on them. I'll take them. How much? $99. Bargain. Little did I know, years later, with the assistance of high definition, I was actually performing in a pair of Michael Jackson branded Thriller sneakers. And you fuckers never noticed either. Anyways, what's this one all about? Well, I'm still in love with the goose. That's basically that one. These ones are a nice pair. I thought they were trousers, they're actually pyjamas. But you can't tell really. This one. How does something like that actually come into existence? Okay, let me take you through what goes on in the mind, right? In the mind, or rather the lack of mind. I don't know. So after the end of the Power Slave tour, I was like losing my mind. I was just like, I'm just like, right? So I had 3 or 4 months, calm down. Then I did the album, Somewhere in Time, just the singer, right? That's great, okay. And I finished the album, I'm like, I am going to design an amazing stage outfit. Yes, I will. I'll get professional help. I needed it. So I get a girl called Caroline, who's a costumier, professional, who makes costumes for films and TV and stuff. So she comes along big bag of money in the middle there, you know. And she said, even before COVID, she knew that social distancing was a good idea with me, right? So she's keeping 2 hockey sticks apart, right? And I said, hello, Caroline. I'd like to make a pair of trousers with you. She's like, you're being a little bit weird. Just slide the money towards the door and tell me what it is you need. I'm like, I want you to imagine a strange alien world inhabited by giant green space lizards. You think you can do that? Here's your ray gun. Here's mine. And together we're going to hunt the giant green space lizard. There's one! See what I did? Look! Killed it. Stone dead. Not a mark on its skin. Caroline, I want you to make that animal into a pair of trousers for me. Okay? Yeah? She's like, oh, one more thing before you go. You know I do this sort of like fencing malarkey, right? Any chance we could mix our metaphors and we could have the bottom half interplanetary green space lizard trousers and the top half 18th century D'Artagnan. Would that work? Voila, there you go. That's how shit like that happens. Of course, you know, when we first started going out, we were early adopters of pneumatic technology, so I'd be standing there and it'd go up like that, but never been an early adopter of anything, honestly. It always ends badly. 9 times out of 10 it would go fine, but then there's the one occasion when it would go oh yes. Now this is a puzzle. This is a puzzle. Little brain teaser for you. In this picture is hidden an accountant. Can you spot him? No, it's not him. Yeah, so that's our accountant, Andy Taylor. And people, you know, he's always been very upset that he's never featuring in any of our stuff, really. You know, it's always all small words and blah, blah, blah. He's not remembering any of the things. You know, I said, well, you will be now. I'll put you in the show. I'll put you in the show the day that we met the Queen. Not the band. The monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, right? So we've been invited, me and Andy, along with about 1,000 other people, it has to be said, to the Queen's little, you know, townhouse, the garden out the back, you know, Buckingham Palace, right? So we're there in Buckingham Palace, looking at all the really fucking big pictures. Yeah, right. And the late Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, right, he is very, very much alive at this point, and kind of, you know, wandering around, doing what he does, ambushing people, you know. He kind of sneaks up on you. He's like the beaky guy in The Simpsons, right? Kind of comes up and he's suddenly out of nowhere. You get this hello, and he, oh my God, you know. What do you do? I said, I'm a singer in a heavy metal band. Ha 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 ha! Who's this fat fella here? I said, that's my accountant, Andy. Ha ha ha! He doesn't look like he's short of a meal or two. Has he stolen all your money yet? Ha 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 ha! So he wanders away, and you know, it's causing a diplomatic incident with China or whatever next week, and this guy comes up and grabs hold of me by the shoulders. He's an equerry, right? Which is like a roadie for the Queen, but very posh. So he's like, shoves me up there, puts me in line, I'm standing there, and there's a line of people, and he gives me a lecture, 5-minute lecture. You're about to meet the Queen, this is what you do, don't do this, do this, da 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 da. I went, okay, right, about to meet the Queen. And I'm looking to my right, and standing there is Roger Daltrey from The Who. And I realised I'm about an inch taller than he is. But the Queen's only 4'10". I'm 5'6" and a half. The half is really fucking important. But she is the Queen, and therefore she's got, you know, a track record, or her family have, or her, you know, her people in the past, you know, off with his head, you know, so end up in the Tower of London, you know, eating gruel or something for the next 10 centuries. So you've got to be careful with the Queen, because she asks the devastating questions. She's been Queen for 70 years. 70 fucking years, right? It's just amazing how many fucking idiots she's met in 70 years. And she's probably made more sense than any of them. So she's coming down and I'm just thinking, okay, now to meet the Queen, be prepared for the devastating questions. It's normally a 1-2 punch, you know, like that, you know. So I'm thinking, and then all of a sudden, you know, I feel this, don't fart, whatever you do. Oh my God, don't break fucking wind. You can just see the headline, you know, monarch carried out feet first, felled by onion fart from heavy metal singer. There goes the knighthood, fuck! Oh no. Order, the OBE, the Order of the Bowel Emptiness. No! So she comes up and she's looking up at me. Hello. I went, yes. And what do you do? I went, well, I'm in a heavy metal band now. She goes, heavy metal? What's that? You see what I mean about the questions? Soften you up, little jab, and then boom, like that, you know. I've got 30 seconds to save the world. I'm like, no, what am I going to do? Tell her a joke? No, don't tell the Queen jokes, no. I said, what? Your Majesty, yes, you had a heavy metal guitarist on the roof of the palace, Brian May from Queen. Did it for a bet, I mean for charity. And she goes, on the roof? I went, yep. Of the palace? Yep. He didn't do any damage, did he? No. Clearly not. Oh yeah, he couldn't possibly do any damage. He was outside. Goodbye. And off she went. Head still firmly attached. You know, it's one of those moments when you think, I've met the Queen, and I survived. People don't, you know. So be wary of having a selfie taken with me. People want to have selfies all the time nowadays. Very popular, I understand, right? It's going to become, it's quite hazardous having a selfie with me. This was me when I was in Sarajevo, up there on the top right, standing in front of the tank. So, that picture was taken, the road I'm standing on is actually no man's land on the front lines between the Serbs and the Bosnians. On the way out of Sarajevo, on the airport perimeter road, right? So we're leaving, I'm actually leaving, we've been there for 4 days doing this insane show that we did in 1994. So we're leaving there, so I suddenly see this blown up Soviet manufactured tank in a ditch. And I'm like, I used to make models of those when I was a kid. Stop! Selfie! I mean, down here we've got the friends of, like, Novak Djokovic, right? And up there you've got the friends of the Bosnian Tennis Federation. And they're fucking killing each other on a regular basis. Have you ever seen the Gary Larson cartoon, where there's two deer standing next door to one another, and one has a birthmark, which is a target, and one says to the other, bummer of a birthmark, Hal, you know, right? Well, that's me, fucking bummer of a birthmark, Bruce, right? Right. So, I don't know if anybody had me in their sights when I took the picture, but I got out, took the picture, got back in the car, and I get back in the car, and the corporal that was driving it, taking us out, was like, oh. I said, like, what's so funny? He said, last bloke that not did that was shot. So for all those reasons, it's hazardous having a picture taken with me. Now, you can also think the same thing happens when people find out I'm the pilot of your airplane taking you on holiday. Everybody wants to get out and have a selfie. There they all are. The question is, will they subsequently get back on board the fucking aeroplane? Because you see, nobody knew that I was actually a pilot. I mean, when we did the whole Ed Force One stuff, people thought I was like John Travolta, you know, that I bought the aeroplane or something. We never bought the aeroplanes. IronMaiden have never owned an aeroplane. Look, if it flies, floats, or fucks, rent it. So we didn't, you know, we didn't have anything like that. We rented it, and actually the first couple of times we went around the world in the 757, we rented the aeroplane from the airline that I'd been working for as a pilot for 10 years. So I did 200 hours of flying Ed Force Ones and 6,300 hours of flying people on holiday and various other things. So when I first started doing the job, doing the training, I didn't tell anybody. Got the job offer on a Friday, which was like, hello, what are you doing on Monday? I mean, I knew the guy, right, already. People don't just phone up at random. Oh yeah, that's fine. So I said, wow, the correct answer to this is, you tell me. He said, can you start at British Airways at 8:30 on Monday morning doing ground school for a 757 as the first officer? I went, oh fuck yeah, I can do that. And my wife said, you're in IronMaiden, how are you going to do that? I said, I'm going to worry about that on Monday. So I turned up and I did that. Now, when you do airline pilot training, right, you go through all these things and you're already a pilot, but you're not an airline pilot yet. So you've got to go through all these courses and things, but there comes a day after simulators and exams and Christ knows what, there comes a day when you make your first flight with passengers in the back from A to B, and nobody on that plane knows that there is a complete fucking idiot at the controls. So in my case, my first flight as an airline pilot with passengers was to take, 200 unsuspecting victims from London Heathrow to Munich in Germany, right? So we land at the other end, and so far nobody's died, and I'm the last one off the plane because I'm still filling out bits of paper that I don't understand. And I'm standing on my own at the bus stop, waiting to get the shuttle bus that takes you to the crew hotel or Hilton or whatever it was like. So I'm standing on my own at this little bus stop in Munich, and good little soldier, I've got my, the big black coffins, bags that pilots carry, that looks like there's something really fucking important in there. There's nothing of any importance in there. It's just like a packet of cigarettes and a dildo or something, right? And so they're sat there like that, and I've got everything, clean white shirt, haven't spilled coffee over it yet, so it proves I'm not a proper pilot. And the hat, I've got the hat as well. Still got the hat. Comes in handy in the bedroom. Keeping the keys in. But anyway, I'm standing there, and suddenly, about 100 metres away, is an Iron Maiden fan. And I know he's an Iron Maiden fan because I can see the badges and the patches from here. And he just looks at me and just changes direction. Starts making a beeline straight for me. I'm like, oh fuck. Oh no, help, what do I say? It was a bet. Strippogram. He comes straight up to me and he looks me in the eye and says, excuse me, but I must know, is this the bus for Munich? No, mate, so thank you very much. That kid is probably kicking himself now. All those years ago, I was walking up and I was sure I met Bruce Dickinson's brother. Looked exactly the same, but he was a pilot, so it was impossible, you know what I mean? The other thing that happens is that when you're a pilot, you put on a lot of weight, because all you do is sit on your arse all day, push a few buttons, but you eat all the leftover breakfasts. And then the only exercise you get is walking down the steps and walking around the plane once. Every other flight. You know, so you end up putting on a load of weight. I mean, look at this picture up here. I'm so fat I can't even get out the fucking window. This one is actually just to make Adrian Smith jealous. It is, and also because it's Canada, I can make a very corny joke and say, ooh, barracuda, right? But it is actually a West African barracuda, and the reason it's a West African barracuda is because we caught it, in Sierra Leone, which is a place that I used to fly to a lot over the course of 10 years with just regular flights. But the interesting thing about that goes back to right to the beginning. Remember when I said that things repeat throughout the years, right? So I didn't know what my great uncle John did very much in the war. I knew he was a wireless operator. I knew he was an electrical engineer as well. That's all I knew. So I had some of his memorabilia, and after I'd finished flying and the airline went bankrupt and all the rest of it, after I finished doing that job, I did a bit of digging about what he got up to. So his service number was written in one of his service Bibles, which I have. And he'd also made this beautiful brass model of an American B-24 Liberator. And I could never understand why, because, you know, he was a Brit and I don't know, he thought he had made a model of something else, a Lancaster or something, right? But it was a Liberator. Anyway, I ran his number, some buddies of mine, through the RAF records. Turned out, okay, so he was in 200 Squadron, Coastal Command. They were flying Lockheed Venturas, or Hudsons as the RAF called them, hunting for U-boats. He got diverted to Malta. That's how he ended up in that picture. Then, the squadron re-equipped with long-range U-boat hunting B-24 Liberators. Aha! One piece of the puzzle. But where were they based? Well, they were hunting off the West African coast. They were based in Sierra Leone. And the airport hotel I'd been staying in was actually the former officers' mess of that squadron. And the runway that I was landing and taking off from was the runway built by the Royal Air Force that he would have been landing and taking off from. And we would have sat and watched the same sunsets together, you know, 60 years apart, drinking the same shitty warm beer. That's just not a funny story, that's just an amazing coincidence of life that blows me away. So that's just that story. definite passenger. Always in first class. Everybody thinks that's Donald Trump. But it's not, although he did recently have an engine failure on his 757. He's having a whip round apparently to see if anybody can lend him the money to fix the engine, you know? Like he needs it. But the thing that impresses me the most about this picture is look at that. It's the world's fastest flying geese. They're breaking the sound barrier, but it's probably just about leaving there. Selfies. Now, middle picture, I did tell you about. I've spent most of the evening showing you pictures of me semi-naked, right? Middle picture, there we are, 1984-85, and yeah, it's in the Bahamas. Don't ask me about the toilet seat, I don't know. The one on the right is after I got done with cancer treatment. So I got done with my cancer treatment. They told me, you're all clear, it's gone. But you have like no immune system for about 3 months, right? So, you know, be careful. So we needed to do some pictures for the Book of Souls album. And I said, well, let's go to the Mexican jungle and do some photos. What could possibly go wrong? Huh? So we go off, and that's in the Mexican jungle. I decided to reprise the shot. But I mean, sorry, but look at the body fat percentage on that lad. I mean, I dropped 10 kilos in weight in 3 months. You can't fucking do that on Weight Watchers. I don't recommend giving yourself cancer, you know, but take every advantage you can get from it, you know what I mean? You know, I was Mr. Bloggy when I went in, you know, I was like this when I came out. Because things change when you get cancer. They do, you know, your world changes. I mean, first of all, how do they tell you you've got cancer? I mean, I knew I had cancer because I Googled it. And unfortunately I got it right. But until the doctor tells you, for sure, you're still like, oh, Google it, maybe I've made a mistake, right? Now it was getting close to Christmas when I was diagnosed, right? Just because it was about 10 days before Christmas. And I thought, how are they going to tell you? Is it going to be festive? Log fire, drops of brandy, box of Kleenex, nurse dressed as Santa Claus, quick blowjob. I've got some bad news, this may take some time. No. You turn up, knock on the door, there was, in my case, a nice female consultant doctor at the other end, and she had a letter, and she just said, I have here a letter that says you have head and neck cancer. Went, oh. I'll see you on Monday morning at 8:30. Oh. Right. And that's it. And at that moment, your whole life changes. Whereas before, you know, you'd just be able to be my usual lecherous self, like looking at women's bottoms and chirping birds and blue, you know, crisp winter's days. No. Now it's just hospitals, churches, graveyards. Hospitals. Who fucking built that hospital? That wasn't there yesterday. Shit. That's all you could see. So I thought, well, maybe I have to be angry. Maybe I'm going to be really angry with my cancer. I'm going to visualize big, I'll stab it with my steely knives, but I just can't kill the beast. Didn't write that, but I should have done. But no, too many cancer cells, I'm outnumbered, right? Never going to work, and I was exhausted. I hadn't even started the treatment yet, and I was completely knackered. I thought, I've got to think of a different way of doing this. So I decided to give my cancer a personality. Who is this cancer? And I thought, well, it's the kind of person that turns up to a party that you're throwing, tries to steal all your best booze, and fuck your girlfriend. You, mate, or in French, putain, can fuck off. and don't come back. But that wasn't enough. I needed something physical, so I grew a beard. Well, it's not unusual, happens all the time, but you don't know my beard. First 2 or 3 weeks, it's like normal, you know, Jesus of Nazareth type beard. And then, all of a sudden, it abruptly changes and turns into an offensive weapon. It goes through 90 degrees and starts growing outwards. So the overall effect is like having a porcupine attached to each side of your cheek. My cat was scared shitless of it, my wife hated it, my kids hated it, my manager hated it, I hated it, and I decided that any self-respecting cancer would not be seen alive in a person with a beard like that, and it would leave. But it wasn't quite that easy, of course. There was other things that were involved. So I had to do, you know, chemotherapy for 9 weeks, and at the same time, have 33 sessions of radiation, which is quite a lot. So, of course, there would be effects. But I was interested. I thought, well, you know what, I might as well get involved in the technical bits, because what else am I going to do for the next 3 months? Hey doc, how does all this shit work? You know, pilot type, geeky sort of thing. So he started to explain, you know, that the chemotherapy was cisplatin, and the platin bit was platinum, and all these little nanoparticles of platinum were going into my cells. That's cool. I've got loads of platinum records. I'm fucking turning into one. And then, of course, when you do the chemo, you immediately lose all your sense of taste. But you've seen my trousers, it's not a problem. And there are worse diseases. There are some diseases where you lose your sense of smell and taste. I'd rather have cancer. Anyway, so you do that, and then there's the radiation and all the fatigue and everything else, you know. But one thing I wanted to know from him was, whose fault is all this? Who do I blame? I mean, is this a judgment from God in advance? Is it because I had too much sex? Is it because I drink too much beer? He went, how much beer do you drink? I went, sometimes more than the government guidelines. He said, well, how much is that? I said, well, 2 pints every day. He went, I drink shitloads more beer than that. That's a relief, you're not an alcoholic as long as you drink less than your doctor, remember that. But he said, look, I've got to warn you, you might lose some hair. I went, no. No, you know, it doesn't bother me. Life, like the back of the shirt, is better than all the other options. If I'm alive, I don't care. I mean, look, if I have to shave off my head and stuff, and shave my hair off my head, you know, it never did Rob Halford's career any harm, right? If it all falls out and never comes back, I'll just join a band with Billy Corgan, the Slaphead Twins or something. But it didn't happen. None of my hair fell out. Instead, my beard fell off. Not out, off. Think Christmas tree. Leave it by a radiator for a couple of weeks. Give it a shake. In my case, my face fell off in a pub in front of my friends. There's no protocol for that. So nobody knew I was sick, and I didn't tell my friends that I was having cancer treatment, because you look perfectly normal for a few weeks, and then you sort of like turn into Quasimodo. And so I've got my pint, and it's, I can't taste it obviously, but you know, and my friend's looking at me and my beer, and he suddenly starts pulling funny faces at me. So I look at my beer, I'm the same, it's full of shit, there's all this crap in my beer. I'm thinking, what the fuck is the barman doing, pulling a pint like that? That's awful. I just fucking itching my thing. I think, oh, that bloody cat has been sleeping on my neck without me realising, oh, that's not the cat. That's me! Pint down, I run into the gents' toilet, right, in the toilet, looking in the mirror, and sure enough, big clumps of my beard have just fallen out. What to do? Improvise. Clouds of hair everywhere. The cleanest shave you'll ever have. Honestly, if Gillette could invent a radioactive razor, they'd corner the market and go out of business the same day. But in my case, it was like, it's clean, wow, it's amazing, it's all gone. It's like, you know, sort of Abraham Lincoln, that kind of look, you know, Captain Nemo. So I go out looking dapper, you know, and have another pint and go away thinking, fuck, that was weird. Next day, I go for my radiation, outpatients, lay on the slab for half an hour, come back, having my breakfast, I can't taste, and I'm munching on my scrambled eggs, and I notice there's a lady in the booth next door with 3 kids, and she's shielding their eyes. Don't look at that strange man. Stop staring at him. Stop. I'm like, what? I look down, I think, oh fuck, they put black pepper on my scrambled eggs. I told them not. Oh no, it's me! Ran into the toilet, sure enough, loads more came off. So I went home and took a selfie. I told you, selfies always end badly with me. So I took a selfie, and I thought, well, there, and there it was, look, you see, so, look, all this bit's fallen off now, nothing under here, I'm just left with that. I took a selfie because I thought, I'm looking vaguely like D'Artagnan, it's very popular with me. I'll make it sort of like a sepia tone effect you can put on it. So if I die, they'll find the picture somewhere and go, this is what he looked like at the last minute, D'Artagnan. So anyway, I take the picture, and then the next day, all this bit fell out as well. Which meant that after I got done with the treatment, right, the only living thing that could exist on my face after chemo and radiation was the fucking moustache. And I'd decided, because of that, that I would keep the moustache. And everybody hated the moustache. My manager was like, when are you going to shave off that fucking moustache? I said, well, I had cancer, you didn't, fuck off. The moustache stays in the picture. So I kept the moustache, and I looked like an out-of-work porn actor. Right? And I was wandering around, and one of the projects I was involved with, a guy phoned me up and said, can you do a little thing for YouTube? I went, really? You want me to do something on TV? I think I look like shit. I've dropped like 10 kilos and I'm all like haggard and I've got this awful moustache. He goes, oh, that's fine, we don't care about that. I went, thanks. So I go up and I'm doing this piece to camera about a blimp, and it's in front of this big construction site. So I'm going up there and I stand there and I put on the high-vis jacket and the hat, the construction hat, you know, because of everything. Do the piece, go away. And I think a couple of weeks later, I wonder what that looked like. So I find it, and sure enough, you know, the drone is coming in, and it's coming in, closer. And I see this bloke, me, standing there, big, like, Mexican droopy moustache, looking wizened and haggard with his fucking coat on, and then the construction hat. I'm like, oh my God, I've morphed into the village fucking people. At which point, I went, right, the moustache is coming off That's over and done with. I am coming off right now for 25 minutes. There'll be some questions. Hopefully there'll be some answers from me. In the meantime, I'm going to leave you with the video of writing on the wall, as you've never seen it before, and certainly never heard it before, because I can only apologise for YouTube. I know it's sort of the only game in town, but it's not nearly as good as seeing it on a fucking HD screen with big Dolby sound and the sound effects and everything else. So I'll see you in 25. Guys, goodbye.